Hey, good morning, Ellie. Lovely to
Good
see you.
morning.
Thank you for giving up your time to talk to me this morning. Um, I think I can introduce you as Ellie Keenan, the author, can't I really?
Yes, well, actually, Bella Roan, the author, I have a pen name.
Yeah, well, we'll,
So,
we'll,
yeah,
we'll come on to that because that's
yeah.
really exciting. So people might assume that since you've moved into being an author, that you were maybe an English teacher, but you actually weren't, were you? What was your subject background?
No, so I trained as a Key Stage 2, 3 design technology teacher with QTS. So I did English, maths, science, and DT in Key Stage 2 and 3 because I was a bit unsure as to which way I wanted to go and whether it would be primary or secondary. And also, when I was training, there were a few middle schools around, so I was considering doing that because I thought that was quite a nice age group to be involved in. So, yeah, that was my degree. So I did teach a little bit of English, but only sort of up to year six
Mm.
in my training. So, no, other than an A level in English, I don't have any of the qualifications for that. No, totally different.
Yeah. So, how did you teach at different schools during your career, or did you stay in the same one? And how long was your career?
So I came out of teaching after 18 years. I only did primary school training. Well, I'll come back to that, but during my degree, and then I decided to go into secondary because I just seemed to have a better rapport with the older children, so I quite enjoyed that. So I went to a school, secondary modern school, and loved it. And I stayed there for the entire duration of my career. I did really I was very lucky actually. It was a very good school and it was very supportive of the staff. So on that score, it was really good. But I went into the DT department teaching graphics and came out teaching food and nutrition with going through a whole range of subjects during that time. So I ended up teaching all sorts of things really different to what I trained to do originally.
Yeah, they do seem to do that to DT teachers, don't they? So,
Yeah.
did you during that time were you always classroom teacher, or did you take on any responsibility at any point?
Yeah, I did. I was head of subject within the faculty. So I was, well, second in department for a little while. And then I recognised after having my children that I needed to cut back some time. So I went down to 4 days and became head of subject instead, head of food and nutrition, well, food
Mm.
technology as it was then. So it became a bit more manageable than second in faculty, because that was managing about six subjects in the end while assisting.
Yeah,
And for 4 days, it just wasn't manageable. So that's where I changed.
right, yeah. And at what point did you start to think this isn't working for me anymore?
Well, it was always sort of a battle with my own children. And because my school was quite a commute, I was literally that mum who was racing up to the school gates as soon as they opened, pushing my children out the door. And then I
You're
was,
slowing down and pushing.
yeah, literally pushing them out the door, getting them in and saying, right, see you later. Then I was the mum screeching up at 6 o'clock, collecting them. And my poor children, they just looked exhausted. And I was cross and angry with myself. And I started to take it out on my own children who were quite little. I was taking it out on my husband. I was taking it out on the children I was teaching. And I just never felt happy. I never felt happy other than when I'd had probably a week into a holiday and I'd just gone and I
Yeah.
could just relax. So my mental health took a bit of a bit of a battering really, in terms of I was beating myself up because I was thinking I should be happy. This is a great career. I've always wanted this. I've worked hard for it. I was also trying to be the perfect mother. I was also trying to be the perfect wife. I was also driving 20 miles, 25 miles there and back, 50-mile round trip it was every day, battling traffic. I just felt stressed out. And then on the other side of things, even though I had a very supportive school, it became part of a trust And you know, that was excellent. We had lots of support there. But the problem we had was, for me, creativity was really, really important in DT. And it was becoming stifled because not only were the government changes really difficult to keep up with, but the trust-wide approach was to keep all the subjects that were taught in the schools the same. So on Wednesday, everyone across the trust was teaching this. On Thursday, everyone across the trust was teaching this. On Friday, and I really struggled with that because I wanted to teach subject in my own way, and I wanted to cover things in my own time. I didn't want to teach the same as everybody else, because it felt like it was a competition, and it felt like there was extra pressure. And you know, if you weren't at a certain stage in the syllabus, you were rubbish. Oh gosh, what's wrong with you? Why can't you do this? And they'd pick it apart. So I just felt completely consumed by everything, not only my home life, but my work life as well. And I just thought something has really got to change. And actually, the actual pinpoint was, I never forget I ever heard a child saying, "Oh, this is Keenan, she's so angry, she's always angry." And I thought, oh my God, that's not what I went into teaching for. I went into teaching to help. I went into teaching to influence, to hopefully make children better people. And I'm not that better person. So I had to stop and think, how can I help people if I can't help myself? And that was a real turning point for me. So yeah, that was definitely a catalyst, definitely.
So, okay, yeah, I'm sure a lot of people will recognise that picture, but I've never heard of such prescriptive timetabling before. That's awful. I mean, you don't need qualified teachers then, do you? You just need delivery robots, if that's how you're managing your staff.
God. Absolutely, because they had heads of, I can't even remember what they called them now, but they were head of subjects and faculties trust-wide. So not only did you have a head of faculty respond to, but you had one who was head of the trust. And it's just, I think there's lots of benefits to that, don't get me wrong, but I also, in my own subject, my own personal subject, which is creative, you would just felt like you were being suppressed, crushed, that you were, if you weren't doing it this certain way, it wasn't correct. And I just didn't believe that, because every child learns differently and every teacher teaches differently. And I just felt that was,
and every group of, and every group of pupils, every class, you have 2 or 3 classes of 30 kids, even if they are on paper the same, the dynamic within the room is so different, and that alters how you respond to them, they respond to you, how you teach them, how you approach. It's just, oh, good Lord.
Crackers.
Bureaucrats running education. We won't go there. Right. So how did you then come to choose the time when it was absolutely right, I'm handing you my notice now, this is it, and what you were going to go on to do? Because I suppose at that point you didn't have quite as concrete a plan, maybe, as some, like, because I'd already set my business up when I left, and other people had alternative employment to go into outside of education. So how did that work for you?
So actually, it was quite interesting, really. I went to see a colleague who was always very supportive at school, and I explained how I was feeling, and I said, I'd quite like to try to go back to being a primary school teacher, because I thought that was the answer. I thought if I could, I thought a lot of it might have been behaviour management. I thought it could have been teaching DT. Maybe I could have a go at being a primary school teacher, and I had visions of being in a little rural school somewhere, just really nurturing some young children. So I luckily my school had a skip program, so the initial teacher training within the school-based situation. So this colleague said to me, you can, why don't you come and do that on your day off? So I'd go there on my day off and get involved. And they didn't pass me with the qualification, but because I've had the previous qualification from my degree, I was able to top it up with the current guidelines and guidance. So from then I started doing a bit of supply teaching in primary. And I enjoyed it, but to be honest, it wasn't the answer. I was never sort of settled, and I thought, because I really thought teaching was for me. It was going to be my vocation. I was going to retire after a very long career in it, and I never saw me doing anything else. And then, but primary teaching wasn't the answer. I still had this, I don't want to say anger, but this frustration that it wasn't what I wanted it to be. So I don't know whether it was divine intervention or whatever, but I handed my notice in. Well, I was still teaching, so I was still teaching at my secondary school, but I was doing primary placement and things on the days off. So 2019, the summer, I handed in my notice just before COVID. And so I was only planning on having a year to really get my thoughts together to know what I wanted to do. And then I was going to start, doing whatever. I hadn't really thought about it. I knew I'd always wanted to be an author. I knew that, but I had no clue how to go about it. And I didn't know if it was an actual career. I didn't know if people just did it for fun. I just didn't know enough about it. So luckily, I've got a really supportive husband, and he said to me, Ellie, just take some time off, really have a think about what you want to do. So up until Christmas, I had a great time thinking, and then that was when I sort of started to talk to people, and they said, have a go at the writing, and I was thinking, okay, I'll do that. Then obviously COVID hit the following year, and I was homeschooling my children, and I found that writing was actually a bit of escapism, a bit of me time that I really needed. And a lot of the frustrations and problems with my mental health, I felt I could pour onto the pages because I could be creative. I felt, I know it sounds really funny, but the creative juices were flowing again. I felt that I was doing something for myself, but it wasn't impacting on everyone else, because previously anything I wanted to do for myself, like walking the dog, I'd feel guilty because I'd leave the children, with my husband, or I just felt I had to do everything. Whereas with COVID, it slowed it all down for me. And I know it wasn't a wonderful time for a lot of people, but there were some positives for myself. And all the extra time I could spend with the children, the impact I could have as a teacher for them, homeschooling, the fact that I didn't have to work at another school and distracted me away from my own children, which was really, really lucky for me, obviously. And then, like I say, I could write in the evenings, and that's how the book came around, really. So it was quite a convenient time for me, really, if you want to put it like that.
Yeah, show us the book. Show us the book.
Oh, yeah. So it's called Confide in Me by Bella Roan. Yeah, A Labour of Love. It's one of a trilogy. So I'm actually currently working on book 2, and then book 3. So it will be book 3, yeah.
Obviously, I don't want to pry too much, but if you had to support yourself on the revenue generated by your writing, do you think you could do it at the moment yet, or is that still to come?
No, not at all. I mean, I'm in a lucky situation that I'm a shareholder in my husband's company. It's his own company, so I'm very lucky in that situation. And that was one of the reasons why he was able to say to me, step away from the job, have some time off. So I am supported in that way. However, I have kept my hand in with the supply teaching, so that tops me up, if you like, when I need it to. And that's been brilliant because I can be quite flexible with when I want to work, and also if it wants to be, they only need me for a morning, they might need me for an afternoon, it's only in the local area. Again, picking and choosing my jobs is completely different to that 9 to 5 grind of every single day and all the prep that goes with it and all that. It is absolute freedom now. It feels like that anyway.
Yeah. So how far along the journey would you say you are towards where you'd like to be mental health wise as a percentage?
Well, that's an interesting question. A lot further than I thought I would be. I really felt broken. I felt really broken for a long time. And the fact that you don't know what's wrong with you is the scariest thing. I didn't know what it was. And I was blaming other people, and I wasn't willing to look within myself to see what the problem was. But then in some ways I was, because I felt the guilt. I felt I don't know. It's a very difficult one. It's like a seesaw. Sometimes you'd feel like it was your fault, then you'd feel like it was everybody else around you. And it was just a very, very, I was just very vulnerable and felt very exposed. And all I kept thinking to myself was, you need to heal. You need to go away and heal and think very carefully about what it is that's wrong and how you can fix it. And you need time to do that. And yeah, so percentage wise, I'd probably say 65%, which I really, which I really didn't think I would be. There's a way to go, but my children are so much happier. My home life is so much better. Just the fact that I can manage my own time has been huge, because I just felt tired all the time, and I felt like I was always on a hamster wheel, just churning out the same thing over and over again every year. Years were slipping by and I wasn't getting any happier. In fact, I was getting worse. And that's when I realized you've got to stop, because no one's winning here, particularly not you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely on the road to recovery. Definitely. I'd say probably 65, 70%. And the writing has definitely helped. Definitely.
So the book, you've published the one, you're working on the second volume, you're aiming for it to be a trilogy. Presumably that you won't be a spent force after book number 3. Your creative juices, you envisage that now you are an author and that is going to be your primary occupation for, I'm going to say the rest of your working life, but that sounds a bit grim, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I'd absolutely love that. If I can't, it sounds awful. This is like I can't sponge off my husband forever. I'm not that sort of person anyway. I always felt that my teaching career was very important to me, because that was my thing. And that's probably one of the reasons I struggled and beat myself up so much, because that was my thing. And I had lots of nice friends there. And I really, really wanted to make something of that. But then when I lost that and realized that wasn't the only thing I could do, that opened up all these options. Yeah, I would absolutely love to write full time. From a monetary point of view, I'm not sure, unless I suddenly, get a 6-figure deal with somebody, or someone makes a book into a film. I don't know what will happen there, but all I know, the bottom line is I am 100% happier. I'm 100% happier, and to me that's worth more than anything. And then obviously that me being 100% happier makes my family happier, which makes me a better person, a better mother, a better friend, a better wife. And I just feel it has a ripple effect out that way, whereas before it was all negative, now it's very positive. So yes, if I could make a living out of this, 100%, because I'm very passionate about it and I'm excited about it. I'd love to do it for the rest of my life. I really, really would. Really would. I feel like I found something that I can do. Definitely.
Yeah. So nice. Yeah. Would you say there are any really striking lessons you've learned along the way since the moment you handed your notice in to now?
Yeah, I would say you're not a failure. If I was telling myself what I know now, sort of 4 or 5 years ago, I'd say it's okay. You can change. You don't have to be stuck in this job. You've not let anybody down. You're not tied to anything. You can do something different. Be positive. Be confident. I would say to sort of look inside yourself and think, do I really want this? It's a case of I was 40 when I handed in my notice, and I couldn't see myself working for another 30 years. I couldn't in the job. I just thought there'd be nothing left of me. I'd be absolutely destroyed. And I thought something has to change. And if you can't see yourself in a job for the rest of your life, the rest of your working career, then because you're ground down, because you've got nothing left to give, how can you sustain 20, 30 years further? I just think that I would have said to myself, it's okay. just stop. You know, heal and give yourself some time. And obviously I was lucky and COVID came along and I could do that. But if it's really affecting you the way it affected me, it's worth it. It's worth taking that time, taking that break if you can. But if you can't, you know, you have to find ways to be able to relax, to look after your mental health. And I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have any me time at all. But now it's completely different. And I realized that you shouldn't feel guilty to have that me time. It's important. It's important for you, but it's important for everyone else around you. And that was the biggest, probably one of the biggest lessons I learned, that if you can't look after yourself, how can you look after everybody else?
Yeah, I think I only really became aware of the whole big well-being, mental health, looking after yourself thing once I got out of teaching, because you're not encouraged to think about yourself as a teacher, are you? And an expression that I've heard time and time again in the last couple of years is exactly what you've just relates to exactly what you've just been saying, which is you can't pour from an empty cup.
No.
If you're utterly depleted yourself, what can you give to other people? And you do get to the stage where you think that any time you spend looking after yourself, well, you feel guilty about it, don't you? Because if you've got that time available, you should be giving it to other people.
Yes.
Which is just, like you say, it's not sustainable, it's not healthy. No.
And that's the vocation, isn't it? You're
Yes.
told that your role is to look after others and to nurture others, and then naturally you do that, but then there's only so much of that you can give and you can do, and it's the switching off. You know, you're a teacher all the time. It doesn't matter what people say. Oh, you have these holidays, you have these weekends. No, no, you don't at all. And you know, for me teaching DT, because the subject changed all the time, I spent my weekends and my holidays changing the curriculum, because it was, you know, every time there was a government change or there was an education minister change, they wanted to put their stamp on things. One of the most significant places they could do it, and ease of change of all, seemed to be education, and particularly in my subject where it was covering all kinds of manners of subjects. I mean, I've taught in my 18-year career, I've taught food, well, DT, graphics, food technology, food and nutrition, child development, construction, engineering. I've taught RE. I've taught the project, which is just a bit about well-being and health and a bit PSHE. You know, the list of textiles, you know, the list goes on. 10 subjects within 18 years. I mean, I'm not qualified to do that. You know, you learn on the job, you learn in the holidays, you learn after, when your children have gone to bed, watching, you know, learning at night school. You know, that's how you learn. And that's where your time goes, and people don't realise that, and they don't appreciate time.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, as I was saying to you before we started recording, I trained as a French teacher, start teaching French. Oh yeah, we actually need you to do Spanish as well, because so yeah, I had 3 years, I was going to evening school learning Spanish so I could teach it.
Yeah.
So
it's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. So I think, is there any final thing that you would like to pass on to people who are hesitating to make that move out of teaching into the big wide world?
Yeah, I would just say go for it, because I was very scared and very, very skeptical, and I did feel that teaching gave me a safety net. And I came from a very, very good school, very supportive school. You know, the senior management were fantastic. They supported decisions that we as a faculty wanted to do, and all sorts of things like that. But you know when the time's right for you, and I knew that. And even the head teacher that I was talking to about my problem, he even said, you know when the time's right for you, and it will. And I knew that summer was the time that it hit me that I needed to get out. And yeah, it is scary. You don't know, but you've got so many skills to give. I mean, I talked to my husband about this. He has his own company, and he always says that he would employ a teacher tomorrow because of all the fantastic, the communication skills, the organisation, the working to deadlines. There is so much that we have to offer, which is very difficult sometimes to have in one person, in one package. We do bring a lot to it, plus our subject specialism, or if you're a primary school teacher, you've got so many talents there. So I would say don't be afraid to go for it, but also listen to your instincts. My whole gut was telling me, stop, heal, slow down, you're not right. And if you don't feel that you're well enough to keep going and there's something not right, have a break, give yourself time, and then start to explore different avenues. Don't rush into anything if you can. I was very lucky I could take that time, and that really helped me. But if you can just take some time to look at different opportunities, then don't be afraid to, because honestly, like I say, I feel like I've been on a journey, and I'm really on the road to recovery now, and I feel so much better. I just feel like everything's just calm now, not crazy, not fried. I felt fried, and I don't now. I feel so much better. So take your time, and don't be afraid to explore different things. Definitely not. Got a lot to give.
I think that's a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much for giving us your time, Ellie. I'm going to stop recording now, but don't disappear.
Thank you.
Thank you.